today we shall discuss other antimalarial agents after discussing the commonly used one like mefloquine, chloroquine, primaquine, etc. So next drug is proguanil. Sorry, L is missing here. Proguanil. It is a slow-acting erythrocyte syngentocyte. Also inhibits the pre-erythrocytic stage of the Plasmodium falciparum. And mechanism of action, it is cyclized in the body to cycloguanil, which inhibits the plasmodial dihydrofolate reductase, and they inhibit the dihydrofolate reductase mainly of plasmodial origin, but they are not inhibiting the mammalian dihydrofolate reductase significantly. That's why chance of toxicity is less. So dihydrofolate reductase inhibition means the action is similar to the sulfonamide group of drug, and they inhibit the folate metabolism, and ultimately the DNA synthesis is impaired. And the current use of the proguanil is restricted to prophylaxis of malaria in combination with chloroquine in areas of low level chloroquine resistance among Plasmodium falciparum. So we have discussed the prophylactic use of chloroquine in the area where chloroquine resistance is not so much prominent, and that's why if chloroquine resistance is of little low grade present in some area, then chloroquine alone is not used for prophylaxis, but chloroquine plus proguanil can be used for prophylactic purpose. And proguanil, you should remember that it is a dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor, inhibits the plasmodial variety of the dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor, not inhibiting the mammalian variety too much, and it is safe during pregnancy. Pyrimethamine, it is inhibitor of the plasmodial dihydrofolate reductase once again, and it is selective antimalarial action, depends on high affinity for plasmodial enzymes. So once again, pyrimethamine is also inhibiting the dihydrofolate reductase of plasmodial origin mainly, and in contrast to trimethoprim, it has a very poor action on the bacterial dihydrofolate reductase. So pyrimethamine is structurally or by action it is similar to the drug trimethoprim, which is also a dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor, but it is diacritic. So trimethoprim inhibits the DHFR is enzyme of the bacterial origin, but pyrimethamine mainly inhibits the dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor of the plasmodial origin. So pyrimethamine is a slowly acting erythrocyte syngentocyte of Plasmodium falciparum. So pyrimethamine is also not used alone. Pyrimethamine forms a part of the ACT, sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. That combination is used along with artemisinin group of drug, and that is a form of ACT, which is used in treatment of the uncomplicated falciparum malaria. So if used alone, resistance develops rapidly by mutation of the dihydrofolate reductase enzyme of the parasite. So it is used only in combination with the sulfonamide. Here we use sulfadoxine actually. So sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, this combination is used. Pyrimethamine is not used alone. Proguanil can be used alone, also not used alone. It should be combined with chloroquine. And pyrimethamine sulfadoxine should be combined with the artemisinin group of drug, only artesunate. So addition of sulfonamide retards the development of the resistance. So that's why sulfadoxine, pyrimethamine both should be used together to have additive synergistic effect. So supraadditive synergistic combination is present when we combine sulfonamide or pyrimethamine combination, that is in sulfonamide we use here sulfadoxine. So sulfadoxine pyrimethamine is used in the single dose tablet. A single tablet contains 500 mg sulfadoxine and 25 mg pyrimethamine. So just like if you remember the cotrimazole tablet where we use sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim in a fixed combination 5:1, here we use the drug in 20:1 ratio, and sulfadoxine is to pyrimethamine 20:1 ratio. Sulfadoxine contains 500 mg and pyrimethamine contains 25 mg in a single tablet, and both are, if given together, they have synergistic effect because of sequential block, and it is clinically curative, particularly for the Plasmodium falciparum. But once again, the sulfadoxine pyrimethamine combination is not used alone. It should be given with artesunate to ensure appropriate killing, so that we can prevent recrudescence in the falciparum malaria. So remember, for falciparum malaria, quinine and artemisinin, these two are the major drugs. Chloroquine is not used for the falciparum malaria, but even if that because chance of recrudescence is high in the falciparum group, that's why recrudescence is high in falciparum group. That's why quinine should be added to clindamycin and doxycycline, and artesunate should be added to either mefloquine or sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. and this is the dose. Sulfadoxine 1500 milligram plus 500 milligram, 3 tablets single dose is used. So 3 tablets, I have mentioned that 1 tablet contains 500 is to 25 milligram, sulfadoxine 500 and pyrimethamine 25 milligram single tablet. So for treatment of the falciparum malaria, we use 3 such tablets. So total dose of sulfadoxine comes to 1500 milligram and total dose of pyrimethamine comes to 75 milligram. For in children, we give 9 to 14 years. If the child is 9 to 14 years, we give two such tablets. If child is 4 to 8 years, we give 1 such tablet. And if it is 1 to 4 years of age, then we give half of such tablet. So adverse effect. So it contains sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. So it is a sulfonamide variety. So that's why sulfur allergy can occur. So exfoliative dermatitis, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, etc. can occur due to sulfonamide moiety. And the major importance of this combination is due to its efficacy against the chloroquine-resistant Plasmodium falciparum. Compliance is good due to single-dose therapy and few acute side effects. So question comes, why 3 doses to be given together? Because it has been found that these 3 doses together as a single dose, 3 tablets together as a single dose, there is better compliance. Because often a single tablet, if invites allergy, then second or third tablet may not be taken by the patient. But because sulfur drug allergy is very common, so if it is given the 3 drugs together, then compliance is better. So even if patient develops mild form of allergy, the entire dose has already been consumed, so there is already proper killing of the Plasmodium falciparum have been taken place. So that's why a single tablet is used for better compliance, and 3 tablets are actually essential for killing of the Plasmodium falciparum. Next, there are few fixed dose combination is present as part of the ACT. So sulfadoxine pyrimethamine is combined with artesunate, is commonly given along with artesunate. So it is the first line drug for the uncomplicated falciparum malaria under the National Antimalarial Drug Policy in India, and it has replaced chloroquine throughout the country. So remember always that chloroquine is not used alone. Chloroquine is not used for the falciparum malaria even if it is uncomplicated, but we use artesunate based therapy, artesunate plus sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. It is the national the first line drug for the uncomplicated falciparum malaria under the National Antimalarial Drug Policy of India. So artesunate plus sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. What is the dose? Artesunate 100 mg twice daily for 3 days, and sulfadoxine 1500 mg plus pyrimethamine 75 mg single dose on the first day. But don't forget to combine give primaquine 45 mg single dose for each gambetocytocidal action. So this is the kit. In a single kit, artesunate, sulfadoxine pyrimethamine is supplied. So look here, 3 sulfadoxine tablet, 3 sulfadoxine pyrimethamine tablets, 525 mg each. So total dose is 1500 mg of sulfadoxine and 75 mg for pyrimethamine, and there are 6 artesunate tablets in the kit. So it should be consumed as 1 tablet twice daily for 3 days, and each contains 100 mg of artesunate. Next group of drug is tetracycline doxycycline. It is weak azocyte to endocyte, and all plasmodium species, including chloroquine, mefloquine, sulfadoxine pyrimethamine resistant Plasmodium falciparum also, they are responsive to doxycycline. But it is not used alone. Especially it is used with quinine in the resistant cases. So quinine plus doxycycline 7 days therapy should be used to prevent the recrudescence in the falciparum malaria, and combination with quinine for treatment of the chloroquine resistant falciparum and virus malaria. That's why there doxycycline is predominantly used. Also doxycycline, where we have seen it, doxycycline can be used as pneumoprophylaxis malaria when malaria chloroquine resistance is high in some area. Then doxycycline can be used as pneumoprophylactic purpose, just like mefloquine. Next, artemisinin, a very important group of drugs. Actually, it is the drug of choice for the falciparum malaria because of widespread resistance to the chloroquine. So it is a potent and rapid erythrocytic phagocyte, and source is Artemisia annua. It is a plant, and it is quick defibrillation can be achieved, and also parasites can be cleared within 48 hours. Source is Artemisia annua. This is a Chinese plant, and it is effective against the Plasmodium falciparum resistance to all other antimalarial drugs, as well as sensitive strains of the other malaria. So remember falciparum, no doubt. Also, they are active on the falciparum Vivax, but we should keep this artemisinin group of drug against the Vivax treatment as a reserved drug, because in Vivax still chloroquine sensitivity is high. That's why we should use chloroquine as a first line drug for the Vivax treatment, but we can use artemisinin when when chloroquine fails. Because if we use indiscriminately the artemisinin group drug in Vivax malaria also, then there is development of the resistance. But already as Vivax chloroquine has developed resistance against the falciparum has developed resistance against the chloroquine mostly. So chloroquine is not not anymore effective against the falciparum malaria. That's why for falciparum malaria, artemisinin is the first line drug, but for Vivax malaria, artemisinin is the reserve drug, can be used when chloroquine fails. And in the erythrocytic physiogonic cycle of the malaria parasite, artemisinin exerts action on the ring forms to early seasons. Thus, they have the broadest time window of antimalarial action, but they don't kill hypnozoites. So, for Vivax malaria, primaquine is to be added, and for falciparum malaria also, as it has no gametocytocidal action, we have to combine primaquine to have its gametocytal killing action, and it is lethal to early stage of the malarial gametes. So artemisinin, it is poorly soluble in water and oil. What are the derivatives? There are multiple group of drug is now present: artemether, artesunate, arteether, arterolin, and they are collectively known as artemisinin. Artemether, it is soluble in oil and can be given orally or IM, but not IV. And artesunate can be given orally as well as IM plus IV, because it is water soluble. So artemether is soluble in oil, not in water. That's why it should be given orally or IM. So artemether given only IM, M for M. Remember like that. Whereas artesunate can be given IM, IV as well as oral. And it is active metabolite is generated in the body that is called dihydroartemisinin. That is the active form. So whatever be the agent, artemether, artesunate, arteether, the active form is dihydroartemisinin. In short, we call it DHA. And arteether was produced in India. Arterolin is totally synthetic, have been developed also in India, collectively known as artemisinin. And so this is the plant source drug of choice for the falciparum malaria, and can be used in Vivax malaria when chloroquine fails. And dihydroartemisinin is the active form of the drug. Duration of action is short, recrudescence rate is high. That's why artemisinin is not also used alone. It should be combined either with mefloquine or with sulfadoxine pyrimethamine to prevent the recrudescence. And that's why there is the term developed artemisinin based combination therapy, that is called ACT. So artemisinin is a very highly effective drug, but it's not enough to achieve complete cure. That's why there is chance of development of recrudescence in falciparum malaria. That's why few other drugs need to be added, like artesunate plus mefloquine, artesunate plus sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. And as these combinations are very much effective in reducing the recrudescence, this is the drug of choice for the falciparum malaria uncomplicated, and this is the therapy, we call it artemisinin combination therapy or ACT. So ACT is a very common short note, you should prepare that along with dose. So what is the mechanism of action of artemisinin? So it has endoperoxide bridge in its molecule, and that appears to interact with the heme in the parasite. So once again, there is a role of heme. So heme is toxic to the parasite, and that's why they convert heme to hemozoin for their survival. But this endoperoxide bridge in its molecule appears to interact with the heme, and this reaction, iron-mediated cleavage of this bridge, iron comes from the heme. So heme iron-mediated cleavage of the bridge releases a highly reactive free radical species that binds to the membrane proteins, causes lipid peroxidation, damages endoplasmic reticulum, and inhibits protein synthesis, and ultimately results in lysis of the parasite. So this is the mechanism of action of the artemisinin. So there is formation of the highly reactive free radicals, and ultimately there is lipid peroxidation plus damage of the endoplasmic reticulum, protein synthesis inhibited, and ultimately parasite lysed. And so artemisinin combination therapy, elimination DHAF should be considered, and effective concentration in blood must be maintained for at least 3 to 4 asexual cycles of the parasite, that is 6 to 8 days, to exhaust the parasite burden. Therefore, short DHAF drugs given for the 7 days, long DHAF drugs given for the 1 to 3 days. So now some of the combination we have to remember the dose. First line drug for the uncomplicated malaria is this falciparum malaria is artesunate sulforaphane pyrimethamine. It is the drug of choice as per the national policy, and those I have discussed already. Artesunate 100 mg twice daily for 3 days, plus sulforaphane 50 mg, pyrimethamine 1 mg single dose on day 1. But don't forget to add pineapple for its dermatocytal action. That is 40 mg single dose, preferably second day. Next, artesunate mefloquine, that is also effective, and those are collaborative in non-falciparum anemia. Here, dose is artesunate 100 mg for 3 days, just like previous therapy. But here, mefloquine dose, it is little bit complicated. 750 mg on day 2 and 500 mg on the day 3. So the artesunate mefloquine, that is also another ACT, though not a first line drug in India. In India, we still prefer artesunate plus sulforaphane pyrimethamine. But when sulforaphane pyrimethamine, the patient has been already has history of sulfur drug allergy or any reaction to the previous group of sulfonamide or pyrimethamine toxicity, suppose already there is some folic acid deficiency or like that. So if sulforaphane pyrimethamine is contraindicated, then we go for artesunate mefloquine. Next, another important combination is artemether lumefantrine. They both protect each other from the plasmodial resistance, and it is highly effective. It is mainly used in the northeast India when there is resistance to the sulforaphane pyrimethamine. So in northeast India, it is seen that sulforaphane pyrimethamine is not so much effective. That's why artemether lumefantrine combination is used. Here, a fixed dose tablet is available, artemether 80 mg plus lumefantrine 480 mg. So this fixed dose combination is used twice daily for 3 days. And it is effective even in multi-drug resistant Plasmodium falciparum areas. So when there is widespread resistance to sulforaphane pyrimethamine or resistance to mefloquine, this artemether lumefantrine is a very effective drug, and that's why it is used in the northeast part of the India. So these three are the actually commonly used ACT. So if ACT comes as short note, you have to remember these 3 doses: artesunate sulforaphane pyrimethamine, artesunate mefloquine, and artemether lumefantrine. Artemether lumefantrine is available as fixed dose combination 80:480 and to be given twice daily for 3 days. These are the other regimes. You may not remember, just remember the name: artesunate amodiaquine. It is used mainly in the African countries. Dihydroartemisinin, that is the active form of the artemisinin, the artemisinin drug. Dihydroartemisinin piperaquine, arterolene piperaquine, artesunate pyrimethamine. So artesunate is sodium salt free, so water soluble and is administered by the oral IM and IV route. After orilization, absorption is incomplete but fast and rich in less than 1 hour. So I already mentioned that is a prodrug. So active form is dihydroartemisinin, and the pH of the DHA is 2 to 4 hours. So after repeated dosing, artesunate causes auto-induction of its own metabolism. Artemether, so it is given only IM because it is not water-soluble. So cannot be given IV. All of this is slower within 24 hours, but given by food. This is also prodrug, and it is active form is DHA. Excessive metabolism is clearly therefore is the level of the fetus nutrient. It is developed in India and is used also in IM in the complicated or cerebral malaria. It is effective in 3 days schedule with a reproduction rate of 57%. So these are the commonly used drugs used in malaria: artesunate, artemether, and uncomplicated malaria also. And also in complicated malaria, we have to give this drug in the parenteral route. So let's discuss the treatment of the malaria, falciparum malaria in pregnancy. It is a very serious condition because falciparum open leads to multiple complications during pregnancy. So prompt treatment is essential. Preferably artemisinin is not given in the first trimester. It can be given in second or third trimester, but quinine is the drug of choice in the falciparum malaria in pregnancy. Though you have to be cautious for the hypoglycemia. But quinine plus clindamycin, that is the dose. Quinine, the dose is not correct here. 600 mg thrice daily 7 days, and clindamycin 600 mg twice daily for the 7 days. Okay, so that is the dose: 600 mg thrice daily for the quinine and 600 mg twice daily for the clindamycin. I shall have to edit it because the previous dose which we used this. 600 mg thrice daily for the quinine and clindamycin 600 mg BD for clindamycin 7 days therapy. It is given in malaria in pregnancy, malaria in pregnancy. And ACT can be given in second and third trimester, but here ACT means we have to give or mefloquine in combination with artesunate. Now we have discussed so far the uncomplicated malaria. Now what is complicated malaria? So complicated malaria means presence of any of these features in patients can stamp a patient as complicated malaria, and then complicated malaria means we have to give initially parenteral therapy. Okay, so for easy to remember, I have mentioned the malaria plus one or more of the following. So for you can give A2, C2, R2, A6, G2. A2 stands for anemia, hemoglobin less than 7 gram % or acidosis, and or not or and. So anemia means hemoglobin less than 7 gram % and acidosis A2. C2 means coma convulsion. It actually indicates cerebral malaria. R2 means respiratory failure or ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and renal impairment. Creatinine more than 3 mg per dl. So A2, C2, R2, anemia, acidosis. C2 means coma convulsion. R2 means respiratory failure, renal failure. H6, hypoglycemia, hypotension or shock, hyperbilirubinemia, bilirubin more than 3 mg per dl, once again, just like creatinine. Hemoglobinuria, that is the form of black water fever, what we call, that is a complicated malaria. So H6 means hypotension, hypoglycemia, hyperbilirubinemia, hyperhemoglobinuria, hyperparasitemia, and hyperpyrexia. Now what is hyperparasitemia? When more than 5% of the RBC has been infected with the plasmodium. More than 5%. But in malaria non-endemic area, even infection of more than 2% of the RBC is also called hyperparasitemia. So in India, it is more than 5% of RBC need to be infected to call it a hyperparasitemia, and in a malaria non-endemic area, it can be as low as 2%. And hyperpyrexia, the temperature here is 106.7 degree Fahrenheit or more. So 106.7 degree Fahrenheit or more is hyperpyrexia. So these are the H6, and D stands for coagulopathy or DIC. Okay, DIC. So A2 anemia, acidosis, C2 coma convulsion, R2 is respiratory failure, renal failure, more than creatinine more than 3. H6 is hypoglycemia, hypotension, hyperbilirubinemia, hemoglobinuria, hyperpyrexia, hyperparasitemia, and DIC. So presence of any of these features will stamp a patient as cerebral malaria, and there we need to give parenteral therapy. And after patient gets improved, then we can switch to oral therapy. So IM artemisinin is preferred. IV artesunate can be given. Also, IV artesunate is the policy as part of the National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program, and quinine is used only when artemisinin cannot be used, especially in pregnancy first trimester. So artesunate IV is the drug of choice for the complicated malaria. What is the dose? Dose is 3.2 mg IV as the bolus dose, 3 mg per kg IV, 3.2 mg per kg IV bolus dose, followed by 1.6 mg per kg after 12 hours, and then 1.6 mg per kg on 24 hours, and then 1.6 mg per kg per day. Okay, so 3.2 mg on 0 hour, 1.6 mg per kg on 12th hour, 1.6 mg per kg on 24th hour, and then 1.6 mg per kg to be continued once daily up to 7 days. And in between, if patient is getting better, then we switch over to ACT, oral ACT. That means artesunate plus pyridoxine sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, or artesunate plus mefloquine, whatever. Okay, so this is the treatment for complicated malaria. And if artesunate cannot be given, just like in pregnancy or when we suspect artesunate resistance, then we have to go to the last resort, that is quinine. We have discussed the quinine therapy in complicated malaria. What is that? So 20 mg per kg bolus dose to be run over 4 hours, and after that we give 4-hour gap, followed by 10 mg per kg every 8 hours. In that 8 hours, 4 hour for infusion and 4 hour is rest. That means 4 hour we have quinine infusion 10 mg per kg, and then 4 hour is we don't give any infusion. Again, give that 10 mg per kg dose for 4 hours after that gap. So the 4-hour infusion, 4-hour gap, this cycle continues. That means we give 10 milligram per kg, 3 such dose in a day, but loading dose is 20 milligram per kg, and it should be given in 5% dextrose to prevent hypoglycemia. And the salt we use is quinine dihydrochloride, whereas for oral therapy we use quinine sulfate for uncomplicated malaria. So remember, oral ACT, oral quinine, these are all for uncomplicated malaria, but for complicated malaria we use artesunate IV or quinine IV, but after initial improvement we can switch over to the oral drug, and total duration of therapy is 7 days. So this is a summary. Uncomplicated malaria, what is the drug? Chloroquine plus pyrenoquine. Chloroquine, once again I am repeating the dose. So we can give 600 milligram on 0 hours, 300 milligram on 6 hours, after that 300 milligram each on 30th hour and 54th hour. Okay, 0, 6, 30 and 54, 600, 300, 300, 300. Or we can give 600 at 0 hour, 600 at 24th hour, and 300 on to 48th hour. Plus primaquine 15 milligram per day on for 14 days. Or we can give quinine plus doxycycline clindamycin for uncomplicated falciparum malaria, quinine 600 milligram thrice daily, doxycycline 100 milligram daily, or if patient is pregnant, then 600 milligram clindamycin twice daily for 7 days. Or we can give ACT plus primaquine. ACT we have mentioned, you have to write the artesunate sulfadoxine binding combination, and or in Northeast India we give artemether lumefantrine. But always primaquine is to be added unless patient is pregnant. So in pregnancy primaquine is not given, and also in necessity deficiency patient primaquine is not given. For falciparum malaria, chloroquine sensitive falciparum malaria, chloroquine can be given, but in India it is obsolete. Chloroquine resistant falciparum malaria, that is the common in India, we give artesunate plus sulfadoxine betamethamine, artesunate plus nefloquine, artemether lumefantrine, or quinine doxycycline clindamycin. And uncomplicated severe malaria, we give artesunate IV only, or we can give artemether or artemether IM, and the last result is quinine. So this is the treatment. So we have to remember the dose of complete treatment of uncomplicated virus malaria, chloroquine plus primaquine. Treatment of the uncomplicated falciparum malaria, mainly ACT or quinine doxycycline or quinine clindamycin, plus treatment of the complicated malaria, artesunate IV or quinine IV, and those forget to mention primaquine. So this is the treatment of malaria. It's very important to remember all these doses because it is a part of the regional program. So write down two questions. Number 1, that's why you have to mention the dose. Treatment of uncomplicated virus malaria. Number 2, treatment of the uncomplicated falciparum malaria. Number 3, treatment of uncomplicated falciparum malaria in first trimester of pregnancy. So first question is treatment of the uncomplicated vivax malaria. Number 2, treatment of the uncomplicated falciparum malaria. Number 3, treatment of uncomplicated falciparum malaria in first trimester of pregnancy. Number 4, treatment of vivax malaria in pregnancy, uncomplicated. Treatment of vivax malaria in pregnancy, uncomplicated. Number 5, treatment of complicated malaria. Number 6, treatment of complicated malaria in first trimester of pregnancy. Number 7, mechanism of action of the artemisinin. Number 7, mechanism of action of the artemisinin. Number 8, drug of choice of falciparum malaria. Falciparum malaria in northeast part of India. Okay, write down this, give answer of this few questions. Mainly, you have to concentrate on the dosing regime, and one clue is that chloroquine and quinine are safe in pregnancy. Okay, this is the clue for these answers. Okay.